start doing these videos where I invite a past guest or future guests for MOPS to come and give me a little tidbit, just a little kind of talking about what they talked about and maybe something extra that we can share. So Candice came and she shared with us some gardening tips and some really great things, and I'm really excited to invite her here today just to kind of pick her brain about the upcoming growing season and have her kind of just talk a little bit about it, and I have some questions too.
Well, one thing that I brought with me is my trusty journal, which it's amazing how you forget what you did last year. So I usually like to just write down when I started my seeds, when, any observations that I might have when the seedlings started to sprout, when I put them in the ground, all that stuff, just to help me get to know the seeds I'm working with, and, our soil might be different, and just to help me remember what worked and what didn't. Anyway, I usually start by just checking this out and seeing, okay, when did I start my tomatoes last year? And I remember last year I started them too early because by the time I was supposed to plant them in the ground, they were so tall and gangly. So things like that can help me just to improve what I'm doing. But so I'll check my notes, but if you don't have a notebook to start with, and you want to plant something, on the back of each seed packet it'll usually tell you if you're going to start it inside, when to do that, and so you'll be all set. And then some seeds you don't want to start inside, you just plant straight into the ground, which I love that, because my living room is filled with dirt and seedlings. But typically around now I start things like peppers and cabbage and broccoli and tomatoes. Any type of seed that is going to take a little while to grow large enough to be in the ground come May or June, I would start now. And usually you can just get any type of tray. You don't have to go out and buy something fancy, and just fill it, with 1.5 inches, 2 inches of dirt. Sprinkle your seeds in, and if you can cover it with cellophane, that kind of creates that greenhouse effect, and it'll help your seedlings to sprout faster. And then either stick it in a sunny window, where we've put ours in a bay window and it gets plenty of light, or you can go to Lowe's and you can buy a fluorescent bulb, a special one that's for growing. Yeah. So if you go to the fluorescent bulb light, you'll see it says a grow light. It's just a little bit more than a regular fluorescent bulb.
All my big windows are cold.
Okay, so obviously heat will make your seedlings grow faster. So one thing that you can do is put a heating pad under them if you feel like going that route. We put ours in the room where our wood stove is, but we just have to make sure we water them a lot. So if it's cold, you could go the heating pad route, or it'll just move slower. I mean, it'll help if you keep them covered so it can keep the moisture in, and that, some of the heat from the plant and the seeds growing will be kept in if you put a little lid over that, so you could try that. But I mean, so many people have greenhouses, and they're not freezing, but they're warm enough, and it will work. Right. So
when do people normally set those up? Like, you obviously couldn't put one out there now.
A greenhouse?
Well, so when it flirts with 30?
Yeah, it just depends. If they have a heating element in there, then you could do it now. And then a friend of mine, they built a greenhouse, but it's dug down into the ground. So they get the benefit of the insulation, but they do have a wood stove in there. So it kind of, the heat it has to be above freezing, that's for sure. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do now, is get those things started and then just start to plan out, what other things might I want to grow, and kind of map out my garden. And then if I don't feel like starting seedlings, I can just map out what I might be interested in, and then, come spring, go to a local market and buy seedlings that are ready to go and test those out, because sometimes people aren't that into it to want to go through the trial.
I've tried, and it's really hard to get it's not like a perfect science, but there's a little bit of a science to getting the seeds in the right environment and the right lighting and that sort of thing. And I've definitely tried to start things, and they typically die before they get big enough to even be transplantable.
Right. So yeah, there's just a lot of troubleshooting, but again, like troubleshooting with how much moisture, if you can cover it, the heat, the light, and then if you're giving it enough nutrients too.
Yeah, that's...
Because as the plant, the starter soil that you can buy, you'll go to Lowe's or all these garden centers, and they have seed starting material. And it's great for starting the seed, but it really doesn't have a lot of nutrients to give the plant, what it needs. So if you leave it in that soil, you're going to need to supplement with something else. So
yeah, it's not just dirt, right?
Right.
Like you want to
put in some minerals or something.
Where do you get those in, like the Lowe's?
So, well, it kind of just depends on what you want to use, but at Lowe's or at Country Max they have, I'm trying to think of what it's called. It's Hollytone. Well, they make a brand called Hollytone, and they make all sorts of different fertilizer. It's organic fertilizer, so you can get some of that. You can also do Miracle Grow, and I was actually just looking at my bag of Epsom salts, and you can use that.
Huh?
As
Yeah, I've heard
a fertilizer, which I'm gonna try this week on my houseplants.
Have you ever tried doing your own organic, like fertilizer? Not organic, but like I read somewhere you can blend banana peels, eggshells, and something else. Coffee grinds.
Okay,
And
just those three.
Yeah, grind those up.
We put, I transplanted a rosemary plant that I have from outside, and I put it in a pot, and I used our compost mix, which is a ton of bananas, coffee grounds, and eggshells, but it has other things in it. And that's, what else do we eat? It's
eggs, bananas, coffee.
Good. The three staples. It's doing okay, but I feel like, of course, since it's been inside all winter, it needs more. So I'm going to supplement it with the Epsom salts, and I'll get back to you. I'll let you know how it goes. So.
I've heard they're really great for, like, roses.
Yeah.
So
I think for indoor houseplants, and this would be the same with the seedlings, it says, I think it's 1 teaspoon to a gallon of water. I think that's what it said. Yeah. It's really... That's
cool. So what are you currently doing right now for your garden?
Currently, I am really behind the 8 ball. We've had so much
Raise your hand if you're behind the 8 ball.
So there's probably going to be, I'm going to start less than I normally do this year just because of what we have going on in life. But I'm probably going to start a few tomatoes and
That's probably 10 times
a few
more
tomatoes
than
and herbs. Yeah. But usually I start so many more things, but I've made a pact with myself. I'm just going to buy those this year. And
tomatoes and herbs?
No, I'll do the tomatoes and herbs, but our garden, as I told you, is like under a total overhaul and trying to figure out. Don't lean on it.
No.
Trying to figure out how to deal with weeds and deer and all that more effectively. Oh, so another thing that I had talked about last year, I remember, was chickens.
Yeah.
And so chicks are starting to, you can put orders in, I know, at certain places, like I think Country Max. So, my husband and I are going to sit down and talk about if we want to get any more chicks. Right now.
Do you have any right now?
We have 4. So legally we can only have 1 more. Anyway, but if we want to go in with somebody that's going to order more, and we'll just get 1.
Yeah.
So now's a good time to think about that too. If anybody's interested in getting chicks, just
And you're in the town, right?
we're in the town.
Yeah.
But
I
the
think
city
is permit. You can have 6 with a permit.
city you can have. I think it's 5, but maybe it is 6.
Either way.
But now's a good time to think about that. Yeah, and kind of research breeds that you want, because I know some places they'll have chicks that are right there that you can purchase, but you can also special order if there's certain breeds that you're interested in.
Yeah.
So if you research that in advance, you'll be prepared. And then you can also, look for used drinkers and feeders if you don't feel like buying all that stuff new.
Yeah.
So,
see, there's a lot. That's why I wanted to do this now, is because there's a lot of stuff that we can be thinking about now that we think, oh, it's winter, nothing there's nothing really involved with outside. No, really, this is what it's planned.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So usually you order your chicks in March if you're gonna, and then you pick them up in late March, early April. So it kind of all depends on where you get them from. You can get them much later too if you're not ready now. So
just buy full-grown chickens.
Yeah.
You just squeeze them and eggs come out.
That would be nice. Yay. Well, and I think it's one of those things that can seem overwhelming, but then once you get them and you realize it's no more work than owning a cat.
I really like some of the benefits for your yard that they provide.
Yeah.
My in-laws are constantly battling with ticks with their dogs because
we haven't had one tick in our yard. So Connor would get ticks on him frequently, and after we got chickens, we had 0 ticks.
They like them. They're yummy.
I know. So yeah, I mean that is the reason alone for me to just have them. Then the eggs, and then if you can use their fertilizer, it's awesome for your garden.
Yeah.
So
win-win-win. I've decided that our backyard's not really great for like things with fruit or vegetables because there's just not enough sunlight. There's big tall trees. So
right.
I decided that I wanted to try to do like leafy greens and herbs, flowers. That would pretty much be all that I want to do. And I tried spinach, and it was just nothing ever came up that was spinach. It was all just other stuff,
Right.
So I'm like, maybe I should start that inside, or I don't know.
No, spinach is something you want to direct sow, but I feel like don't give up. I mean, it might be something with your soil, but you do have a ton of trees.
Yes.
I'm looking in your backyard right now.
And
it does need
so many trees.
Vegetables like a lot of sun.
Yes.
So if you have a really shady spot, that's definitely gonna.
Because that area, the back corner where we plant stuff, and that area pretty much gets maybe 2 hours of direct sunlight. It's bad.
There's like a guideline in here.
Why don't you talk about your book?
I want to see you want at least 6 to 8 hours of sun.
Right?
Yeah, that's just going to be a challenge. But maybe, I don't know if there's a spot on your deck, but I mean, you can do so much in a container, especially with things like spinach and lettuce and herbs. Like those are container friendly.
Yeah, the deck's kind of like it moves.
Or if you did something, in your driveway or along your driveway.
Did you talk about this book already?
I brought it last time. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this. It's the Backyard Homestead. It doesn't have all the answers, but there's things in here, like there's dirt all over this page. Because I bring it out into the garden with me. But it tells you, so basically, if you're planting broccoli, 24 inches between rows, and then spacing between plants is 12 to 24. So it tells you all of the spacing. And basically, if you're going to try to grow for a family and feed yourself throughout the year, how many plants per person. Just some helpful guidelines. And then it talks about one thing I'm trying so hard to master. Of course, you probably can't see this, but this is like a little diagram. It's a sunblocker rotation. But it talks about, thinking about how you're planting for tall crops and small crops so that you're not blocking the sun. And also, there is a section on here, for crop rotation. There's certain things that, if you plant, like in here it says, if you plant beans, then the next year you don't want to plant onions and garlic there. So the beans must leave something in the soil. But it says you would want to plant cauliflower or carrots. So it gives suggestions as to, what to plant year after year to help, each plant gain from the nutrients of last year's plant. So, and in here also there's all about raising chickens and raspberries and milk from sheep and goats.
So thank you for coming today.
Absolutely.
And chatting with me about gardening. It's inspiring me to try. Try again.
Yeah. So I think it's important to remember not to give up, but to think about your sun, because you may be doing everything right, and just because you're not getting a lot of sun might be the problem. But the other thing is if you're new to it and you feel like you've got too many things going on and to start a garden might be overwhelming, then just pick one thing. So like if you have a favorite herb that you love, that you don't want to buy at the supermarket anymore, or a favorite vegetable, you know, because like tomatoes, for example, like you just cannot get the same kind of tomato at the grocery store that you can buy, that you can get from your backyard. Or you love fresh grown lettuce or whatever. Pick one thing that you just want to say, I'm going to try it, and either try it in a pot or, you know, plant that one thing in a little area in a plot of dirt in your garden that you can fence it off from a little rabbit or something, and just see how that goes. But I always encourage people too to start with herbs, because I feel like herbs are something that everybody uses in their cooking, and they're something that you can take inside in a pot. And so I feel like herbs are a really great place to start to get your confidence up. And you know, it's a tiny little pot to experiment to see if you can get it to grow, and if not, then go buy one that's already started and start there. One helpful thing I will say about herbs is like basil, for example. If you have a nice bushy basil plant and then it starts to get tall and stocky, or you know, it starts to put out blossoms, you always want to nip it back. Even if you're not going to use the basil, just go out and cut your herbs back, because that'll help encourage new growth, and it will prevent them from getting really tall and stocky and going to flower. So
I did that with dill. It was like I bought it and it was doing that, and I just let it do its own thing, and then I was like, why isn't this doing anything?
Yeah, it'll just go to seed. So you just want to keep cutting the herbs down, and like cilantro, all of them. Love it. Except for rosemary and thyme.
That's what I planted last year at MOPS, was cilantro, and it was like, ew.
Yeah. Cilantro is not a good one to start with. I found starting cilantro drove me nuts, so I didn't grow it anymore until I bought a plant, planted it in the ground, and it went to seed. And then the next spring, I had so much cilantro growing on its own. And so now I just let it do its thing, and I have so much growing. It's unbelievable. And I just keep cutting it back.
I would like to have, because Eli loves it in our cooking. And
so plant it in the ground and let it go to seed, and then the next year you will benefit.
Next year,
greatly.
yay!
I know, it's like patience.
What a great lesson.
right. I want it now. But anyway.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I'm hoping that we can do more of these videos, and we can have like little chats with everybody, and maybe we can talk again in the summer after we've grown a little while.
Sounds good.
All right. Maybe we can talk about specifically about chickens.
Sounds good. Yeah. Happy gardening, everybody.
Yay.
Why do I go to MOPS? Because we love to make friendships, and I get to go hang out with other women who have stories to tell that are great, that you just can't make up, and to be able to understand what I'm going through as a mom. Oh, and of course, you gotta have some tea or coffee and food. Love food. So I'm ready to go. Just one problem. I can't find my keys.
Is it on?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Are we on?
Do a test shot of us
Okay.
giggling.
No. Alright, my glasses are probably gonna like glint in the...
Oh, mine too. This is where something. What do I look like?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about it.
I'm beautiful,
You're
just the way I am.
It's lovely.
All right. Okay. So, I have my question.
Oh, you have questions for
But-
me? Oh gosh, I hope I know how to answer them.
Okay, so
Bye.
check the gate.